And action.
Hey. Hey everyone, welcome back to Fighting Spirit Film Festival. I have a very special guest with me today. Please introduce yourself.
Hi guys, hi Jessa. My name's Bulent Özdemir-Larusso. I'm a filmmaker, writer, and colorist.
For our first question, please describe yourself in three fictional characters.
Three fictional characters.
Mhm.
Wow. Three fictional characters. Okay. Marty McFly, um, Deadpool, and who's the other fictional character that we can think of? Jean-Claude Van Damme. There you go.
He's
In
not
Bloodsport.
fictional.
His character in Bloodsport. I can't remember what his name was,
Oh,
but I can't remember. Yeah.
when did you know that you wanted to become a filmmaker?
So my filmmaking journey started in 2010, and for me, it was always a case of being creative. I really used to enjoy writing stories, poetry, and I used to experiment. It's really, really weird because my generation is like from the video generation, like the video cassette generation. So I used to get into this habit of, oh, I wonder if I could take this videotape and this footage from this tape, and can I somehow cut it into this videotape, this video footage? And that's kind of like where the first interest started. I was like, oh, you can actually take this footage and you can put this together, like from two totally different scenes and create a movie. So my interest started when I was younger, but I didn't realize that that is something that you could do. I think like with most people, it's just like, you see it on the big screen, but that's not, there's no access for you. And it's only later on in life when with friends we started talking about, making films and doing like kind of like short scenes. And then we thought, oh, okay, this could be a possibility. So for me, actually getting onto the road of filmmaking, as in starting properly, was around 2009, 2010.
How did you gl like glue the
The tapes.
tapes
So,
together? Like how do you does it just become really seamless when you like cut and glue it together?
so I didn't actually cut the tapes themselves. They were two separate VCRs, video
Mm.
players and video recorders. So I would play on one, record it to the other, swap them out, swap this tape out, play on this one, and then record it. So it was, I suppose, just a bit like the old school kind of editing where they used to
Yeah.
get strips of film and cut it and splice it. I didn't know that was a thing though. That was just something out of my own curiosity. I just think, oh, okay, I wonder if I could do this and do this. So it's just experimentation, really.
Because I really wanted to know how people did it and made it so seamless when they
Yeah, with film, I think I know from an editing point of view, it has its own rhythm. There's something called a blink of an eye. So when we interact with people, when you blink, that's your cutting point in a film as well. That's how I look at it. So, say for example, in this VCR tape, I would play a piece of, I don't know, dialogue, and then there would be like a one or two beat where they would blink or that something happens, just a little bit of a space where you could just cut to the next shot. So it's just a case of experimenting with the two. And I found that it was kind of seamless because when you're talking with people and you turn your head, there's like a split second moment where your focus is taken from that person to another. And that's how I see editing as well. So when you're going from one shot to another shot, you don't just cut rapidly into it. There's like almost like a little beat that you take before you go into the next one. So that's how I sort of figured it out in my
Oh,
head, if that makes any sense.
yeah, that makes sense to me. How
Cool.
did you find your footing in the film industry?
So I'm self-taught. We didn't have access to film school or anything like that. It's way, way too expensive. So for me, it was just a case of gathering the knowledge of what I needed to do, which was A, how to use the camera, what the settings of those cameras were, the lenses, and then being able to kind of figure out how to put one shot next to another shot next to another shot and how that would play out. So that was a process for me in itself that took quite a while, like in terms of being able to create my own, for example, short film. It was probably took me about 6 months to get it right, how I thought things should play out. So it was just a natural progress on that. Then I kind of built on that. So okay, I can do this. I know how this works. Oh, what if I need something a bit more? Uh, uh, for me, for me, the main thing is like Hollywood. I want that Hollywood look, the Hollywood blockbuster movies, old school movies. And I was just trying to build on like in terms of the aesthetics, in terms of how the colorings of this digital footage looks against this film, because film is for me is the standard. That is like the pinnacle of filmmaking. That's something that I want to shoot on film, 35 millimeter film. So there's certain textures and color densities, and there's like like this really beautiful kind of contrast that goes from, and not to get too technical, from the shadows through to the highlights is very, very seamless. So I knew for myself that the footage that I was filming had to look a certain way. So once I figured out how to edit and use the lenses, etc., then the next stage for me was to write, okay, I need to get the look. I need to get the look right. And in order to get the look right, you have to think about lighting, and then you look at kind of, well, okay, this light graded, how's that going to look? Because with color grading and manipulation, it kind of changes the colors as well. So all of that took like quite a few years. And then to actually get the foot in, it's not even a case of foot in, to be honest. It was more of a case of my sister, Ozdemir-Larusso, she's in the art industry. So she would see what I was doing and go, okay, well, would you be interested in kind of creating videos for artists, like artist profiles? We're going to have an exhibition. We want to showcase their shows. We want you to do like interviews and obviously film what's going on within the environment. And I was like, okay, I could do that. And that's kind of, if you're talking about getting your foot in terms of getting paid, that's how I kind of went in. So whilst I was doing the corporate stuff, I was still working on my own narrative films and the aesthetics and learning more about, cameras and lenses and lighting. And that's how I kind of got into it.
How would you describe your filmmaking style and how did it develop over the years?
My filmmaking style, I'm not sure if I have a style. I probably have a style. Um, the inspirations for me in terms of filmmakers would be Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, Alfred Hitchcock. I'm just trying to think. Martin Scorsese. So these directors, these filmmakers, they have a certain way of telling a story because filmmaking is a visual medium. And another thing that I learned is that there is a language to making films, visually making films. There's a reason why the camera moves in a certain way. There's a reason why the camera's positioned in a certain way. So for me personally, they were my kind of inspirations, and they were the people that I would look to in terms of filming. But I don't really know if I have. I've been told that I have my own style, especially with my aesthetics and the way I kind of tell the stories. But I don't know if that's a style or if it's just me. I don't know if it's mimicking or if it's just something that I've kind of like naturally developed over the years. But in terms of, like I said, inspiration, they're my inspirations.
That is probably your style, but because it's yours and you're just doing it, you don't think about like, oh, this is my style. You're just doing the work. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. There are so many beautiful shots that these filmmakers have created where they've taken 4 or 5 different separate cuts, shots, but they've intertwined it into one seamless kind of like move. So, say for example, Steven Spielberg is the master of blocking. You know, instead of him cutting to a close up, then a medium, then a wide, and whatever, he would have the character start off on a wide, for example, then he'd push in onto a close, then he'd pull back out to reveal 2 characters, for example. That's like 3 shots in one. Beautiful storytelling, seamless. And that for me that's cinema for me. That's like cinematic filmmaking. So yeah, that's what I try always to keep in mind when I'm creating my films and my stories. I think, how can I create this narrative story without breaking the illusion? I don't want to just cut and cut and cut and cut, because then this just kind of takes you out. For me, it's like I've had conversations with friends about this before. It's like you're sitting by the fire and you're telling stories to each other. So when your attention's on someone, you don't really want to break it to another person who's kind of coming in. You just want to keep your attention on that person. So that's how I try and think of it.
Now let's talk about Brawler. How did Brawler come about? And when were the f first talks about Brawler, like the first ideas?
Brawler came about last year. The year before that, actually, we wanted to make a short film for the Fighting Spirit Film Festival. So the festival, I've said it so many times as well. I absolutely adore and love the festival. Sue Cole is amazing. Love her. The team, you guys, just amazing. Brilliant festival, brilliant vibes, amazing place to interact. So for me, every year since my initial, very first martial arts short film, Shadow Warriors, which was in 2017, I always had in mind, what can I do? What can I do for the festival? What can I do for the festival? So 2 years, no, the year prior to Brawler, we had another idea, a short film concept, specifically for the festival, and we thought, okay, well, we can do this, but we other things came up that and we weren't able to do it. And then this year, was it this 2024 or hang on, yeah, this year was Brawler. So I think it was late last year. I had another discussion with a good friend of mine who's also a screenwriter, and I was like, right, I want to make something. I want to make something martial arts based, and I want it to be made specifically for Brawler. And we back and forth with some ideas. He had this really, really cool idea of the plot, what it could be about in terms of this one very cool scene. So we just developed it from there. I don't really want to say too much about Brawler for those who haven't watched it because I might give away the whole thing. But yeah, so it would have started late 23 with a meeting with my friend. We went back and forth. He wrote the script, then we reworked it, and then we arranged everything for when did we shoot Brawler? I think it was March, like middle of March. So probably about 6 months beforehand. That's when we really went, okay, this is going to get done, and this is going to get done specifically for the Fighting Spirit Film Festival. There's no ifs or buts about it. Whoever's going to come on board, they're going to come on board, and we're gonna make this short film.
How did you do the casting? And did it take too long? Because I feel like that's from the idea and then to filming, that's like a short time span to like get all the production bits done.
100%. Yeah, this is the thing with like any type of filmmaking is trying to find the people, then trying to arrange it in such a way that the schedules match. Because you never know, like people are busy, they might not be available at that time. So for me personally, again, Sue, I spoke with Sue and I said, look, um, I want to elevate the my kind of short film, I want to make this martial arts short film, and but I don't really know in terms of anybody like stunt choreography wise. And she recommended Lucas Leong. So he's a professional stunt actor and coordinator and choreographer. So she said, have a word with him and see if he's interested. I was like, oh, amazing. So this is before looking at the cast and stuff. So she put me in touch with him. I contacted Lucas. I said, hey, this is me. This is what I've done. Would you be interested in doing the fight choreography for this short film I have for Brawler? And he was like, obviously he doesn't know me for shit. So he's like, okay, well, what is it? What do you have? What did you have in mind? Do you have a script? So we went back and forth for a while. And as we were doing that, I noticed that the character that I had in my head, he looked very similar to
Mm.
Iski Faye. And I was thinking, oh my God. And I don't believe in coincidences, but I came across one of his show reels as I was scrolling on it on Instagram. I was like, oh, this guy looks amazing. How do I get in contact with him? Again, bearing in mind that I'm not really familiar with the community. And I realized he was connected with Lucas. I was like, hey, Lucas, I noticed that you're connected with this Iski guy. Is there any way that I could have a conversation with him, like have chat with him? Could you put me in touch? I was like, yeah, I'll connect you guys. So, and then I connected with Iski, and then we got to talking. I sent him over the script, and he really enjoyed the script. And he said he'd be happy to be on board. I was like, amazing. Lucas took a little bit longer because, again, coming from that kind of like background in that industry, you have to be mindful of what projects you get involved in, which I totally respect. Again, he didn't know me for Adam. He didn't know me for nothing. So it was based on trust. Um, so I'm grateful that he trusted me to turn around and say, okay, yeah, let's do it. So once Lucas was on board, we had Iski, and then the other actors as well. I knew personally, so I contacted them personally, and yeah, we made it work. We set a date. What I like to do personally is to always set a date because it's something to work towards rather than going, yeah, let's make this, or maybe we should do it here. No, even if that date kind of falls through, at least you have a kind of a trajectory to work towards. So that's what I did. I just went, look, guys, I want to pencil it in for Saturday, let's just say 21st and Sunday the 22nd of March. Are you guys good? Yeah, we're good. Okay, light pencil. And then work towards that. And that's how we did it.
And I was just thinking in terms of location, having, because I know how difficult location is to book, and then making sure everybody's on okay to work f for that date. How did you find the location for the
The
short film?
location was, yeah, the location was found by my sister, Hallie. And we had a few locations actually beforehand. She was like, yep, I can source this location here. This should work pretty well. And we're like, yeah, great. And every single location fell through until the very, very last minute. I think we turned the location that we actually used in the end, we got hold of 2 days before the shoot. So up until that point, it was like keep your mouth shut and just pray for the best. And I had to go down and have a word with the actual owner of the location. And luckily, it was last minute because what we wanted to do in terms of stunts and fights, let's just say they weren't too keen when they found out what we wanted to do because health and safety. But we assured them, look, everything's going to be okay. These guys are professionals. We're not going to do anything silly. We're just going to base it in this small area. So, yeah, so Hallie found the locations, but this one that we used in the end, luckily we kind of got like 2 days. Might have been a day before, to be honest. It was really, really tight.
Did the choreography like have to be adapted to the space that you were in? Did it have to like be different to what you originally had in mind, or was it a case of adapt?
No, luckily, yeah, luckily I already gave some kind of like plan outline to Lucas from beforehand, from the previous location. Originally, it was supposed to be a narrow corridor. So this way it was larger, so they had a bit more space to work with in terms of choreography, so they were be able to move around more. So it didn't change that much at all, really, to be honest.
Can you tell us how the fight choreography was designed and prepared for the short film?
So Lucas prepared and designed the fight choreography. My direction for him, just in terms of like kind of what I wanted, is to be able to take the character from point A to point B. So this is how we start the story. This is how I need him to get into the fight. The fight is up to your own creativity. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. So the fight is up to Lucas. I trust you. I believe in your work. You come up with the choreography that you feel will work for this particular story. And then at this point, this needs to happen in order for me to take you from that choreography and push the story forward. And he was like, okay, yep, leave it with me. And he called in some favors, bless him, with his team, and they put together this really really cool fight choreography, which Lucas and his team and Iski they turned around like really quite rapidly. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, this is like fucking amazing. So yeah, so Lucas did all the design and all the work for the fight choreography,
Did you
and
have
with Iski, along with Iski.
did you have anything that you specifically wanted to put in the fight choreography, like any inspiration from like other martial artists or filmmakers?
Nothing specific for this one, no. The only specific points were the plot drivers, where specific moments had to happen in order for this character to get from the fight to this other point. But aside from that, no, we didn't. There wasn't anything specific that I was like, okay, yeah, this. Oh, actually, that's a bit of a lie. The one inspiration was from one shot from Old Boy. That was one of the inspirations in terms of like how the character is moving from one point to another. There's this really, really cool fight scene in Old Boy where he's taking on a load of people, but it's like a scroll. It's like a scroll 'em. I can't even use the right word. Like a game, sometimes it moves from left to right.
Mhm.
So in this movie, Old Boy, the character's like here and he's fighting like gang members to the left and gang members to the right, and he's trying to like tear through these people, but the camera's always on him, locked on him, just crabbing, moving sideways. So that was one of the things that I had in mind in terms of inspiration. Yeah, I just remembered that now. Old Boy, brilliant movie.
What were the best parts of filming Brawler and what were the most challenging parts?
The best parts were seeing the fight choreography put together and how it's put together. Because you would think that from a filmmaking point of view, sometimes people play it safe and you do something called a master shot. So you play out everything in a master on a wide, then you'd cut in and then you film everything like on a close up. Then you turn around and cover the other person and do it all again. But with fight choreography, it's the eye-opening thing for me is it's different. So you only need certain sections that need to link with each other. You don't have to film the whole thing, like from start to finish. You just have to shoot sections, then move forward. Shoot sections and move forward. So that was a really great experience. Um, the seeing my actress Olivia as well, interacting with Iski was amazing as well. Their interactions was like, yeah, it gave me personally goosebumps. The difficulty was we overran on the fight choreography, the shooting the fight. It's supposed to be for one day, so we set aside one day for all the fight scenes, and we overran, so we didn't have enough time, so we had to go into the next day, and the next day overran as well. So it gave me a very kind of like small window to capture all the let's just say the emotive bits, the storytelling bits that I needed to capture in order to tell the story. Otherwise, it would just be like a fight scene. And then near the end, we just didn't have any time, and we had to think on our feet. There's this one particular prop that we needed to use, and we didn't have a way of using it, so we had to improvise. And the prop itself is like a punch bag, and we had nowhere to hang it. So we were like, oh my God. And we were getting calls from the owner saying, you need to get out now. You've got like half an hour, you've got like 20 minutes. And we're like, shit. This is like the most important shot. We need to get this shot. And in the trailer, you'll see it. The shot that we have is an opening shot, which is a shot of us pushing in onto the back of Iski's character and he's punching the bag. And I needed that because that for me was my opening. And it's like, 20 minutes left, 10 minutes left. Ah, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So that was the most stressful, but we figured it out. We figured out a way of hanging it over some beams and really rapidly setting up this kind of. If you saw how we lit that, you would just think, how? Like, how does that even work? But yeah, that was the most challenging. That last section, you overran and you just think, oh, we haven't got time. And we didn't have time to push the dates back because there's availability. There's no way we could get that location as well.
How do you stay calm and just like problem solve when you've got like that time pressure? How do you keep your mind just focused on trying to get what you need?
So in my mind, I've always got the story. How am I going to tell this story? What do I need to tell this story? All right, fair enough. I understand that in filmmaking that you are never going to get exactly what you wanted ever. From what you write onto the script to what you produce on film is going to be totally different. And the actual film itself is going to be made in the edit. So there are certain things in my mind that I know I can drop, but I know that I need. There's extras like the extra layer of fat, or there's like, all right, really streamlined. So in terms of figuring out what we need to do, it's having good people around. Honestly, it's having really good people around that turn around and go, okay, this is the situation that we have. How can we kind of like brainstorm and how can we make this happen? And that's exactly what happened with the punch bag situation, for example. I was like, I don't have time to kind of rearrange. We can't shoot this any other time. Figure it out, work it out, because I was busy trying to set up another shot. So my sister, she got in. My really good friend Luke as well, and everybody kind of like chimed in. It was like, okay, what if we do this? What if we hang that? What if we do this? Okay, we might be that beam might be able to hold this. So everybody was kind of like brainstorming to try and figure it out, and that's the key. It's for me as a director, I have a particular a vision of what I want to shoot and how I want to do things. I can problem solve on the day in terms of what I need to do, what shots I do need. But then it's super helpful for me if I have people that are just on it, you know. And I've worked on sets where people only do the bare minimum. They don't want to really do nothing. They're just there for, like for a payday. They don't want to move like a bottle to one side if it's in frame, and that's no good. So good people who are like-minded and will think on their feet, rapidly think on their feet.
What was your favorite part of the final edit?
My favorite part of the final edit. I love the choreography. My favorite part was the interaction between Olivia and Iski, the quiet moment. I'll call it the quiet moment. When I looked at it, that really when I first locked it and I watched it, yeah, it kind of got to me a little bit. So that was my favorite part.
Brawler was screened at Fighting Spirit Film Festival 2024 and BFI's Art of Action. What was the best feedback you received?
The best feedback that I've received is hearing from people that they heard that Brawler is excellent. It's brilliant. Not that they've seen it, but they've heard it word of mouth. Um, in terms of direct feedback, there's some, yeah, there's who was it? I can't even remember. There is somebody in the industry that we managed to show, and they loved it, and they said they're looking forward to a feature version of it. So that was kind of like a really, really good moment for us. Um, but yeah, it's mainly like the word of mouth. People were saying, "Oh my, looks the color grading is brilliant. The story's amazing. We didn't realize it was going to go that way." But in terms of like hearing that somebody's not watched it, but they've heard it's kind of like it's great or it's brilliant or they'd love to watch it. That to me is, yeah, that was really good. That was really cool.
Do you have any upcoming projects you can tell us about?
I do. I do. I actually have a project titled Mavericks, which I'm currently developing and working on. And it's sort of like Mission Impossible meets Deadpool in a ride for Big Trouble in Little China. That's kind of like the vibe. And it's about a Black Ops team that are just involved in this kind of mysticism shenanigans, shall we say. It's like an ensemble piece. And that's kind of like where my focus is right now in terms of what's coming up next. It's funny actually because the main character that I have in mind, I could see somebody like, for example, Scott Adkins. He'd be the absolute perfect fit. But again, at these kind of levels, it's like difficult to kind of try and reach out to certain people and say, look, this is amazing. Would you be involved, etc. Because there's a lot of layers that you need to kind of go through. But on the off chance that Scott is watching this, Scott, I've got an amazing project for you. You're going to absolutely love it. It's going to be an iconic role. It's not going to be quite as iconic as Boyka, because that guy's just amazing. But it's something that's going to be like brilliant. So if you watch this, get in touch or get somebody or give me a chance to kind of get in touch with you.
Now, time for speed round. You have 10 questions to pick a film for each of the questions.
Oh no.
Are you ready?
No, I'm not ready. Yeah, go on, go for it.
What was the best film made in the 80s?
Back to the Future, Big Trouble in Little China. Oh,
What
that's
film
two.
has the best soundtrack?
Um, ooh, it's a tough one. There's so many. There's so many. Are we talking about in terms of 80s, 90s, or just in general?
Any.
Gladiator soundtrack's amazing.
What is the best film released this year?
Best film released this year. I wanted to watch Godzilla minus one, so I can't really comment until I've seen that. Just in terms of not having to think of anything, just sit down, have your popcorn, and just have a little bit of fun. Deadpool and Wolverine, I really enjoyed.
What film are you going to see next?
The next film that I'm going to see, it's a good question. I don't have any in mind right now. I did see the trailer for Superman. I'm a big Superman fan. Yeah, I'll probably say Superman.
And lastly, which cinematic universe would you like to live in?
Out of the main two, or just in general?
just in general.
Let's just go deep and dark. Let's go DC.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Uh,
you, Jessa.
Thank you for doing the interview. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Will Brawler be able to be seen by viewers soon?
Yes, early next year. I'm
Okay.
just waiting for to hear back from one more festival,
Oh,
and that's it. Yeah, then we'll release Brawler. So we're trying to hold on to it as long as we can, but it will release it to the public.